Hello and welcome back to EV Motoring. I'm Joe and it's time to go on another epic EV road trip adventure. We have the Tesla Model 3 standard range packed full of stuff, and we're charged up to 100%. Got the Electron V-Box here doing the charging for us. Link in the description for this model. As you can see through the window, 100%. So this is the Tesla 2023 Tesla Model 3 standard range rear wheel drive. This is the LFP, so the iron phosphate batteries. So it has a rated 272 miles of range, about 60 kilowatt hours usable battery pack. Maybe it's a little bit less, maybe a little more, but somewhere right around there. And we have just over 9,500 free supercharging miles left. So let's go burn some on this journey. On this trip, we're gonna go from Chicagoland here to Las Vegas, going through the Rockies. Wicked snow and ice storm going on, crazy winds. So we're gonna see how much the range is impacted by that. Then we go to, so then when we get to Vegas, from Vegas, we will go to Phoenix and then probably take some sort of a southern route home. Haven't really planned that part of the journey yet. It's gonna be a couple week journey, a little over 4,000 miles. So what better way to do it than an epic EV adventure? So I have the climate running to have the car roasty, toasty, and warm. Another thing I wanted to point out, I have a sleeping pad because I'm going to test out my first experience car camping. So we'll get to try out camp mode, see how the car runs in extreme cold temperatures. It's supposed to be 11 degrees tonight, so we'll see how that goes. Now let's hop inside and take a look at the beginning of the journey. So the first leg of the journey, plan is to go to Omaha tonight. It is 414 miles away. I think it said at first glance. And the first charger it wants us to go to is Davenport, Iowa. I actually think I'm going to try to stretch it a little bit past Davenport because there's this Iowa 80 truck stop here. But you know, once we get on the road, we'll see if we can make it to the Iowa 80 truck stop. Now what we want to do is go in here to our trips, and I preset one up here as Vegas, so we're going to show that in the cards, and we're going to go down here and reset Vegas, so that way when I swipe to the right, there it is. So a little over 4,000 miles on the car so far. Love it so far. Car is warm, set to 69 degrees, fan speed on low, seats on auto, and let's go ahead and unplug and hit the road. Another quick couple notes about the car. I love this recent software update that gave us access to closing our garage door. That's super convenient. Then autopilot. I did pay $200 this month so I can have the full self-driving. I'm in the beta queue, so I don't have the full city street self-driving. However, this still does lane changes and things like that that are make the journey just a little bit easier. I just went to St. Louis last weekend, so I got to test it out. Looking forward to using it more. And another thing I have is the CCS adapter from Electron. So this way I will be able to use Electrify America chargers when it makes sense. So sometimes the supercharger might be full, and it might make more sense to go down the road and use Electrify America and be able to sometimes get a cheaper charge and also get a quicker charge because, you know, sometimes chargers just get full. So we'll be able to test that out on the route and see how it works out. Just got here at Walcott, Iowa at the Iowa 80 world's largest truck stop. Arrived with 5%. Temperatures dropped a little bit down to 34 degrees. It says we need to charge to 72%. I think there's some chargers in between that I could charge or hop, but I know I need to eat dinner. So by the time that I eat dinner and get back, this place tends to be a little bit time consuming to get food. So I'll go eat dinner and see where we're at when we get back, and then we'll go from there. Also, as expected, charging ripped right up to 170 kilowatts because the battery was nice and preconditioned. So it should help be a very efficient charging stop. All right, in the time that I ran inside, got some food, and now got a awesome Caribou cold brew since it's like 30 degrees outside, iced coffee. Walking back to the car, I'm surprised. I'm the only car here. I was the only one here when I got here, and I'm the only one here when I'm leaving. Sorry if there's any wind noise. I have better mics that I'll be using tomorrow. Today I was just trying to rip it to Omaha and not too much detail going on. More exciting part of the journey will be once I'm trying to cross through the Rockies and the weather starts, falling apart a little bit more. Charged up to 81%, so we should have enough to continue. It's estimating we'll arrive in Des Moines with 0. Pretty sure that's not right. But either way, it'll be another minute before I can hit the road anyway, because I want to show you some details. Still pulling 55 kilowatts of speed at 81%. This little information just popped up. It's acknowledging that the battery's cold, so that's harming us a little bit on our charge quality right here. But I wanted to show you this install. So we have the Tesla superchargers here that I'm at. Then over here, there are 2 charge point units. They are pretty expensive. I used them last year, I believe it was. I don't remember if it was on my trip to Glacier or Vegas in the Volkswagen ID4. They charged about 62 kilowatts of peak speed, but they're rather expensive. I still found it useful to even including the price to come here because it avoided me having to go to Geneseo, Illinois, which was kind of a little bit more out of the way. It allowed me to take the same route that I'm taking here today. So that saves like 15 minutes on the journey being able to use these DC chargers. And I just love coming to this destination because there's so much here to easily kill time with the little store, all the different little restaurants. I got a great coffee, nice clean bathrooms. So I always recommend the world's largest truck stop here on Iowa 80 in Walcott, Iowa. Okay, so up to 84% now. I'm going to go ahead and unplug because it's routing me to the Des Moines supercharger here where there are 4 stalls that remaining available right now, and that's a 250 location. And this supercharger location in Grinnell, Iowa is also a 250 installation. So my thought is if I can make it to Des Moines, I'll do it. And if I start losing a little bit of efficiency for some reason, I'll stop in Grinnell. One of the great things with the Tesla supercharger network is there's so many chargers, you don't have to sit at one for too long. You can always keep moving on down the road. So at 85%, we're gonna go ahead and unplug, and we will try to make it 148 miles down the road to Des Moines, Iowa. There we go. Finally have a neighbor here with the puppers. So nice to see more EVs on the road, but nice to come to a supercharger location that's pretty empty, even though it's a great location with lots of things going on. arrived in Des Moines, Iowa at yet another empty supercharger. Arrived with 12%, so gonna go plug in and run and use the restroom, and then we'll talk about the next charging stop if there is one. So let's hop out. Kind of surprised that I've gotten lucky with these empty charging spots. Of course, I'm gonna jinx that right now, but yep, bunch of stalls right here and right next to a gas station. The fans are ripping. Must be getting a good charge. Let's go in and take a look. All right, still pulling 128 kilowatts at 38%. So I could just make it to Omaha, but the thing is I'm gonna want some juice when I get there. So I think it'll be a good idea to either charge, let's see what this one is. This is a 150 in Council Bluffs, or there we go, we have a 250 in Shelby, Iowa. I would say let's add that to our stops. Let's remove all charging stops and see what it would do to get to Shelby. Okay, so it thinks we'd get to Shelby with 2%. I'll give it another minute to calculate, because when I was coming home from St. Louis, it's done a similar thing where it made it think it was gonna get there, and then it took a little longer to just think about, I think, the conditions outside or something along those lines. What I can say is we're getting outstanding efficiency. We have a little bit of a tailwind, and that's helping us out. So on the last leg, we went 151 miles and averaged only 276 watt hours per mile. So outstanding efficiency, and 285 watt hours per mile since we left my house. So I think we'll just give it a few more minutes, maybe get up to like 50%, and then we'll be able to unplug. If I go here, there's another charger on the west side of town in case I hit the road and it panics and realizes, thinks I'm not going to make it. But it is only 100 miles down the road. So 100 miles with 50% is pretty reasonable considering what I've been averaging so far. So I think we'll just give it a few more minutes, get to 50%, and then unplug. I wanted to correct myself. I thought this said 250. It says it's 150 station down the road in Shelby. But still, yeah, the plan is to unplug and, add about, 50% there. So I have some juice tomorrow while I'm kind of stuck in Omaha because there's this wicked ice storm that starts rolling through tomorrow morning around 5 a.m. And it's going to be an ice storm for like half the day and then a snowstorm for the other half of the day. So pretty much stuck in Omaha for the day, and then I'll continue my journey on Thursday to keep heading west. Of course, if it clears up tomorrow, I might be able to get some progress, but I'm not going to ride through miserable conditions when I can just wait it out and I have extra time on this journey. So then once we get to Thursday, I'll be doing a little bit more cannonballing of similar to what I'm doing now, just trying to rip and run to get to my destination as fast as possible. So we're at 52%. We've added 24 kilowatt hours. We're charging at 98 kilowatts right now. So time to go unplug and head off to Shelby, Iowa, 100 miles down the road. Just arrived in Shelby, Iowa. Plugged in at 2%, already up to 8% in just a couple minutes. It's just kind of holding 147, so that's cool that this is one of the better version 2s that holds, that gets up to 150. Some of them are a little slower, like 120, 125. So let's look at the trip plan a little bit. So it says right now I would get to Omaha with negative 8%. Let's see what kind of chargers there are around Omaha. Looks like there's just one supercharger in Council Bluffs, and then the next one's down in Lincoln. So I think I want to make sure I have enough to hopefully just go all the way to Lincoln. That way then when I'm in Omaha, if I need to top up a little bit, I can go to the Council Bluffs one, but I prefer not to have to backtrack all the way to Council Bluffs because I'm supposed to be staying kind of somewhere over here on the west side of town. So yeah, don't want to have to do too much backtracking, extra driving, yada yada. So I'll stay here. Let's see how far it is if I wanted to go to Lincoln. 77 miles would probably be safe if we charged like 50%. That would give us about 100 miles of range, and that'll give us a little bit of buffer to use tomorrow around town. But yeah, I'm gonna go run and use the restroom, come back, see where we're at. Charged up to 55% right now. Wind is starting to pick up, so I'm gonna hop back in the car and head to Omaha for the night, and then we will check in about either later tomorrow or Thursday morning when the weather cooperates a little more. This supercharger, there was 2 cars here when I got here, but it's been a pretty quiet drive, which I'm loving it. Very nice, and pretty nice gas station here, the Quick Pick. Also, something to notice is every single charger I've been to is right off the highway. The locations are just outstanding. But let's hop back in the car and hit the road back to Omaha. Let me get some charging stats, I guess, real quick first. Okay, yeah, so we're at 58%. So I'll go ahead and unplug, and we should have enough. Well, we'll for sure have enough. We'll get to Omaha with 35%, and then we'll make sure that we have enough to get to Lincoln either tomorrow or Thursday morning when we leave Omaha. All right, time to hit the road. The car was completely iced over. I used the defrost mode in the app, got it all thawed out. It was a crazy ice storm here. I was literally sliding the whole way down the hill to get back to the car, like what you would see on YouTube, like where I can't even stop myself. It's pretty sketch, but the roads are finally at least the main roads are clear. So it's time to hit the road and take a look at the journey for today. So originally I was thinking my first charging stop would be Lincoln, Nebraska, but it's saying I'm going to get there with -1, and actually I think it'll take even a little more energy to get there. I'm not so confident about that because it's 52 miles away and I only have 21% and it's 6 degrees outside. So I don't think that's going to work. I think it's better to just play it safe and go back here, do Council Bluffs. That way the battery can precondition. We get a good charging session there, get there with 13%. Get the energy we need, and then we will look at the full route plan to get all the way to either Vail or Breckenridge or Aspen, something like that today. So I guess without further ado, let's hit the road. And 14 miles to the Council Bluffs Supercharger. Okay, just arrived in Council Bluffs with 11%. Let's go, pretty inefficient drive here because we were just heating the battery the whole time. Let's go plug in and then we'll look at the full route plan. Super windy, so I apologize for the wind noise. There we go. So let's go ahead and put in Frisco, Colorado. That's kind of by Breckenridge. Get a start there. So let it calculate the route. So one thing I already know I'm gonna change is it wants me to sit here for a very long time because the battery's cold. So I'm not getting the 170 kilowatts I should be getting right now. I'm only getting 93. So I'm just gonna charge what I need to actually get to Lincoln. So right here it's saying I'll get there, shoot, where is it? There we go. It says I'll get to Frisco at 10:44 at night. I'll bet you we beat that time today because of doing some more optimized charging, because it wants me to push all the way to Grand Island. Instead, what I'm gonna do is hop in here, go to Lincoln, add that. So now it's saying we need to charge here for 50 minutes to make it to Lincoln. That still seems like a much longer time than I think we should need, but we'll check back in a few minutes and see if this car kind of figures it out. Okay, so here's the plan. It thinks that I'm going to arrive in Lincoln with negative, well, now it just corrected to 2% positive. I'm at 39%. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug because simple math says that 40% is 24 kilowatt hours of energy, and I only have to go 58 miles. So that means I would have to average 413 watt hours per mile, and I just don't see the efficiency being that bad. I mean, it was pretty bad during this first little 14-mile stretch because I was ripping the heaters. The car was an ice block. Now the car is warm. It shouldn't use that much energy to get down the road to Lincoln. So yeah, gonna go unplug here at 40% and hit the road to Lincoln, and I'll check back in if we run into problems. Just got to Lincoln, Nebraska with 1%. Efficiency was not so great. It was 364 watt hours per mile, but we made it. So time to go plug in and see what the next stop is. It's trying to route me to Kearney, Nebraska, but I think we'll probably go to Grand Island just because we'll continue to charge or hop while the battery's a little on the cold side. But let's go plug in and hope that we get maximum speed initially. Charger's frozen. There we go. Looks like some chargers might be down here because we got one taped up and then two cords are dangling on the ground, unless they just literally fell somehow. But usually if someone leaves the cord not in the holster, that's a symbol to not plug in there. There's actually two more chargers down on that end that are coned off. So yeah, but all right, we're ramping up right now, really hoping we can get up to 150 because I think this is a level 2 or version 2 supercharger, but it's ramping up. There we go. So yeah, we had charged to 40% at the last one. The reason I didn't want to sit there anymore is I was just pulling between 40 and 50 kilowatts. So by unplugging and coming down the road, the battery had a little bit more chance to warm up, and now we're able to pull full speed of this charger and get a healthier charge. So now let's look at, it wants me to charge to like 80% or so to make it to Kearney. But if I look at the map here, I can go to Grand Island, which is 88 miles away, and we won't need as much charge. So there we go. Now it's jumping down to only a 30% charge. We'll check back and see how much we'll end up needing after the car has a chance to recalibrate and calculate. A little bit more data is on this journey that I just took from Council Bluffs, Iowa to here. I was able to beat the computer just ever so slightly. I arrived with 1.2%, and this was because a little bit at the end I was following a truck, so you can see I was able to get a little bit more efficient than I thought I could do right there. But it certainly was was cutting it a little close, and it's because of some wind that we are encountering. So usually it shows what the crosswind did to our trip. It's not showing it right here, but it was saying there was like an 8-mile-an-hour crosswind that was kind of costing us a couple percent of energy. But consumption-wise, again, averaged towards the end of the trip, it goes down because I had to go about a mile off the highway to get here. But it is what it is. Needed to get the juice. So I think the rest of these chargers are literally like right off the highway. Like if we zoom in on Grand Island, look at that. It's right off the highway. Perfect stop. Why wouldn't we go there? And then we'll, judge the trip again from there. I might go to Kearney, or I might be able to skip Kearney and go all the way to Ogallala, or I think there's actually Gothenburg, North Platte. So there's a couple other options up there. So either way, we'll sit here for a bit, and it's still calculating on what we'll need to get to Grand Island. I'm estimating somewhere around, 60%, especially with how cold it is, maybe a little more. But I'm gonna get some work done and we'll circle back. All right, I just ran into Hy-Vee and got some work done. We are charged up to 80%, so press continue. It looks like we should get to Grand Island. It says with 15%, so that's good because we'll have some extra to be able to precondition the battery, and that'll just mean the next stop is a little bit shorter. So we'll go unplug and then head off 92 miles to Grand Island, Nebraska. This charging session, by the way, was pretty good. Still pulling 57 kilowatts at 81%. It never really tapered down too bad. It was pretty much held 150 for a while and then slowly tapered down as I would expect it to as the pack got more full. I didn't really have the information light here saying that we were, that the cold weather was costing us anything. So pretty good charging stop here. Just arrived at the Bosselman Travel Center in Grand Island, Nebraska. Arrived with 8%. Battery preconditioned very well on this drive. Believe it or not, actually used almost 5% of the battery just doing battery conditioning to make sure this is an excellent charge. And the 11 mile per hour kind of crosswind we've had / headwind cost another 9%. So certainly things are not blowing in our direction at this point. So we're gonna go plug in, see what kind of speeds we can get, and see how long this charge should be. So let's go do that. It is still frigid out here. Charging cable is so hard. There we go. These chargers look like they've been beat up a little bit, but no one else here. We wait for it to connect and start charging. There it goes. So initially it's saying a 15-minute charge, which is kind of what I was thinking. We kind of have two options here. We can go to Kearney. We can go to Kearney, or we can charge up here enough just to make it to Gothenburg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit end trip right now. I'm going to say, just if I want to go to Gothenburg, what does it need? Because these are, let's see. So it's 101 miles to Gothenburg. So I would need somewhere around 80% again. So I think it still is going to make more sense going to Kearney and charger hopping a little bit, since the efficiency is pretty low due to this headwind. Look at our last drive, 432 watt hours per mile. So that's somewhere around 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Pretty brutal. It's going to start wrecking the whole trip efficiency slowly with each one of these legs. So yeah, I think the plan is going to be cancel that, go to Kearney. That's what I think is going to be the method. Right now it says we only need another 18% to make it there. So, we'll probably leave with somewhere close to 40% or so, something like that. I'm gonna go run into the restroom and see where we're at when I get back. All right, just got back to the car, and already in a few minutes we've achieved enough to make it to Kearney, or Kearney, whatever it is. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug. Normally I wouldn't want to charger hop this quick to a place that's just 40 miles down the road, but it's a V3 location there. So I think if I go there, I should be able to charge up enough to make it to Ogallala or North Platte, one of those. So that'll be the plan. Let's go unplug and hit the road, 41 miles down the road to Kearney. All right, just exiting here in Kearney, Nebraska. Should be arriving with, it says 15%, we're at 16% right now. And we're gonna look at a little bit of a couple route options from here, because I know 100% we will have to charge in Ogallala, or Ogallala, whatever that is. Sorry, I'm terrible with these town names. Because we're going to have to get to either Fort Morgan or Brush, Colorado. But we have a couple charging stops that we can choose from after Kearney. There's Gothenburg, which is a supercharger, and then North Platte has both a supercharger and an Electrify America. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on this journey yet, but I actually have a CCS adapter here. So we have the ability to use Electrify America when applicable, and especially when we're here in a state like Nebraska. Electricity at Electrify America is incredibly affordable because they charge by the minute. So with the Pass Plus membership, it's 32 cents per minute. And if I'm pulling, say, 150 kilowatt speed, that means I'm adding 2.5 kilowatt hours per minute. That's cheaper than electricity at my house. So, certainly makes sense to try to take advantage of an EA station while I'm here in Nebraska, because back home in Illinois, they charge 31 cents per kilowatt hour. So that adds up to be, rather pricey, and it certainly always then makes sense to charge at home. Whereas here, it definitely makes sense to charge at Electrify America while you're going through a state like this that's charging by the minute. And I'll keep track of this as we go to other states going forward. So far, I just wanted to make sure I charged the superchargers because I was really trying to get this battery warmed up efficiently. Now that the battery's warmed up pretty well, we can look at different options for what to do. It's arrived at the Runza sandwich shop. Going to go plug in at 15%. One thing for sure that's easily noticeable is these version 3 cables are so much better in cold weather. They're very they bend a lot easier. The version 2 cables are like stiff as a rock in the wintertime, so certainly nicer to deal with these here. Ramping up right now. Let's see what kind of speed we can get right away. Look at that, ripping up to 171, 172 right away. So excellent to take advantage of the charging curve here. And we should be charged up pretty soon. The car wants us to go all the way to Ogallala. And that's going to say that we need to be here for like 35 minutes. So I'm very sure that I'd rather say let's go to North Platte instead and see what that would do. Let's see. Take a minute for it to correct itself. Well, while that's thinking, we can just chat about the car a little bit. So I have, as I mentioned on the very beginning of the trip, I have the full self-driving subscription, which is not completely active yet, as I'm still in the queue for the beta. So I don't have the full self-driving on city streets, but I do have it on highways. So that's worked out to be very useful. What I've found so far is around town, like in Chicagoland, I don't really like the auto lane changes just because too many people are driving too erratically that the cars, people are passing on the right and left of you. And so when the car wants to change lanes, it freaks out when someone's, pops out of nowhere. But here on these, 2-lane divided highways, it's excellent. Basically I'm passing a truck every 5 minutes or so it moves me over into the passing lane, into the left lane. And when I complete the pass of the truck, it moves me back into the right lane, and accordingly. So it's very, very useful having that, and I don't have to disengage autopilot. On this last 40-mile stretch, get rolling in here from Grand Island, I had 2 really, really aggressive phantom braking occasions, and I hadn't really run into that too often. A couple times when I've run into it, it's like if I'm banking to the right and passing a truck's on my right, and we're doing like a right kind of curve, it'll freak out in that moment because it can't see around the truck, so it doesn't know what's there. Totally understandable. But this is like we're going straight as an arrow, road is clear, and just full on grabs the brakes. I don't know what caused either of those. I wish I had more information on it, but just kind of, I don't know if it's maybe the sun or, I have the window relatively clean. I don't know if, that some of the windshield wiper schmutz has made its way in front of the camera for a little bit. One thing to note is when I was, scraping off the car, normally you would just, scrape off your windows, your front window, run the defroster on the back, and you're good to go. With the Tesla, you also want to make sure you scrape off the cameras that are here on the pillars, because that's what that assists the autopilot. So if these cameras are obscured, their vision is obscured by, ice or something, the autopilot won't function properly, especially for the lane changes. It won't be able to make a lane change if it can't see out of this camera. So that's something definitely to keep track of when you're de-icing your car. So right now in the last couple minutes, we're already up to 29%. Let's see if it calculated what I need to do. It hasn't calculated yet, but it says I'll need another 25 minutes to make it to North Platte. So we'll just, I guess, sit here and rack up a charge and be off. I don't really want it. It says I need 53% more. So I would need to charge to 83% and then I need a little bit more for buffer. So I would need almost 90% to get to Ogallala. So that's definitely not the plan. North Platte's definitely the better option here. I could also just use the supercharger in Gothenburg. That was the other one that I could do. North Platte is a version 3 supercharger, so that makes me a little more interested in maybe going to the North Platte supercharger. And maybe I would go to Electrify America in Ogallala, because Ogallala is, just a 150 version 2. So either way, the roads are kind of quiet today too, as far as Teslas go. So these chargers are relatively wide open. Really, the CCS adapter, my main reason for that is if a supercharger is basically full, I can go use the Electrify America and not have to wait or have to deal with slower speeds, because version 2 superchargers, even though it's a 150 peak speed is capable,
the cabinets are shared. So there's like 2A and 2B. So if a car parks next to you in 2B while you're on 2A, you are not going to get your peak 150 speed anymore because they're going to pull some of it, and so that it'll power share while both cars are charging. So that's one downside of the version 2s. But when the roads are wide open like this, you show up to a charger and it should be fine. I don't know how it's going to be as I go forward further into Colorado, but I know just quickly glancing now at the next couple that I have, like I said, Ogallala, 8 stalls available at an 8-stall location, and Brush, Colorado, 8 stalls available at an 8-stall location. So nice and empty roads certainly makes travel very pleasant here in the Tesla. I'm sure the Electrify America stations are probably wide open too. It just doesn't seem like there's many EVs on the road today. The date, I mean, you're going to see this months later, but the date is February 23rd. It's a Thursday. So peak ski season. So, I could see it getting busier once I get through Denver. But from here to Denver, it's looking pretty good. So I'll check back in about 20 minutes or so when we're ready to unplug and go to North Platte. And what was the distance on that? 98 miles. So, yeah, we'll need about 70% or so, something like that, to go 98 miles.
Okay, we are charged up to 72%. Speeds have tapered down to 60 kilowatts right now. And the route planner says we will get there with 4% in North Platte. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug and we'll hit the road. 98 miles to go. Just arrived in North Platte with 3%. Pretty great drive up here. And it looks like we need about 37% to make it 51 miles down the road to Ogallala. So let's go plug in and see what kind of speeds we can get. You're ramping up right now. Should get to full speed. Very good. So the next charger down the road, Ogallala, is a version 2 supercharger. So my plan was to definitely stop here because it's version 3. So we can take advantage of the full 172 kilowatts for a standard range Model 3. If this was a long range Tesla, we would get 250 kilowatts. So it's always worth using a version 3 if you can. And you might recognize this location. We're at Arunza here, but if you look just past it, there's Walmart. And if you've seen some of our other videos, that's where the Electrify America station is. So we've tapered down to 111 kilowatt speed right now. We've added 24 kilowatt hours in just 10 minutes. So we're up to 44%. The drive up here, horrible efficiency continues. Almost 400 watt hours per mile. So that's around 2.25 miles per kilowatt hour, I think that would be. I'll put the correct number at the bottom. Yeah, it says we'll get to Ogallala with 6%. So I think it's time to go ahead and unplug with 45. It probably will take over to 46% by the time I shut up. And we'll head down the road to Ogallala. Just about to exit here in Ogallala, Nebraska. I'm arriving with 9%. There's actually a hotel right on the right here. It's the America Inn, and it's called Margarita's Mexican Restaurant right there. That's where the superchargers are. However,
It is 23 cents a kilowatt hour, and it can range up to 70, or sorry, correct myself, 20, it ranges between 23 and 71 cents per minute while you're plugged in here. So that can add up to be quite expensive quite quickly. Instead, what we're going to do is go to Electrify America. It's literally right across the highway, so the same distance as far as, you know, not going out of my way, and test out this right here. Apologize for the wispy jacket. It's 4 degrees outside now, so it's dropping like a rock. It's going to be negative 11 tonight. At least here it's going to be negative 11. I think it's going to be even colder as I get into Denver and then the mountains. So we'll see. We'll keep track of that as we keep going. But get to test out this adapter, and I might actually get quicker speeds than I would have from the supercharger. So we'll see when we get there, and we'll get plugged in, and we'll be there in a minute. As far as the drive went, thought it went pretty well. It's fine. The snow's starting to pile up now that we've gotten almost to the Colorado border, so it's causing these little side streets to have some accumulation forming on them. Still relatively clear. Definitely going to keep monitoring that too, because I think it's supposed to be snowing in Denver tonight. So ideally, trying to get there before the snow settles in, but I haven't really looked at a forecast in a while either. So we'll get over here, get this adapter plugged in, and see how far it is to the next charger. The next charger, we're going to have two options. One is in Fort Morgan, and the other one is in Brush, Colorado. I'm not sure I'm not sure which one comes up first as far as distance goes, so I'll definitely take a look at that when we get back in the car. But I'm going to back in here and plug in. Charge initiating here on the Electrify America app. Let's see what kind of speeds we can pull. Battery is very nice and roasty toasty on the drive up here because I had it preconditioning the whole way to the supercharger across the street. So right now, we're pulling 129 kilowatts right now. That's obviously cheaper than it would cost to be across the street at the supercharger. And we're doing it here with the CCS adapter. So I think this is pretty much close to the max speed that this car can pull with this adapter. So great to see that the last time I used it on the St. Louis trip, it was a charger issue, not my car issue. All right, just walking back to the charger. Got some Taco John's. I know it's a fast food chain, but the people in this location are super nice. Definitely recommend if you're charging over here in Ogallala to stop by. The car is right there, so I just got to cross the street and we'll be back where we are charged up to just over 70% right now. I think we need to get to about 80% because it's about 115 miles, and I've done this journey a few times with CCS cars, and it's uphill. The wind's going to be in our face. It's 4 degrees and getting colder. So, and there's no bailout options, you know. With the bright side of when I looked at the map is that Brush, Colorado is actually a few miles closer than Fort Morgan. So we'll definitely use the supercharger and yeah, hit the road as soon as we can. We'll check in as soon as we're done here and try to stay warm. And actually it's going to get real crazy tonight because it's supposed to get down to negative something and I'm going to be doing car camping. So we'll really get to see how much running the climate control overnight to keep the car at like 69 degrees does to the battery as far as how much energy it uses for 10 hours or so. Okay, charged up to 85%. This has been stuck on 4% for a while. I think it just needs to recalculate once we actually hit the road. But I'm going to go ahead and unplug. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the charge from my phone app. We'll get out and we'll take a look at what it costed to see how much it costed per kilowatt hour to see if it made sense versus being here versus across the street at Tesla. Okay, so officially at 86% unplugging, it was $7.67 to get 47 kilowatt hours of energy. That came out to just over 16 cents kilowatt hour. So pretty good, pretty affordable charging. It's basically what I pay at my house. I pay 14 cents at my house back in Chicagoland. So 121 miles to go to the supercharger at Brush, Colorado. Time to hit the road. Car suggests staying below 90 miles per hour, so will do on that one. But if you have interest in this CCS adapter, be sure to check out the full review. That'll have been posted quite a while before this video.
And if you use my links down below, that helps me out a little bit. And I'll have the links for Amazon as well as Lectron's website. Typically, Lectron's website's a little bit cheaper since they usually have some sort of promo code going on, some coupon codes that you can find. But yeah, CCS adapter I think is certainly worth it, because not only can it save you money, but now it can get you to more places. And there's certainly also the possibility that sometimes the superchargers are down or full, and you can use the CCS charger that's around to get you where you got to go. Arrived with 6% and just plugged in, only ramping up to about 75 kilowatts right now because we are power sharing, because we are at an almost full supercharger. So just ran into the restroom, and here's the situation out here. We have 6 cars here. The only ones open are the trailer site at the end and 2 cars over from me, so pretty full charging site here. So we'll be here for a little bit. So I was being power limited to 75 kilowatts because I was power sharing with the Model Y next to me, but the Model S that was on the other side of me just left, so I was able to hop over and get some better speeds. So this should definitely reduce our charging time. I was thinking of going just down the road to Fort Morgan, which is about, I don't know, 10 miles down the road, because there's an EA station there. But I only need to get 67 miles to Brighton, so now that the speed is kicked up, should be done here in about 10 minutes or so. All right, charged up to 48%, estimating 2%. I'm sure that'll recalculate, because 48% is definitely enough to go 67 miles to get to Denver. So let's hop out and unplug. There we go. And hit the road. right, just arrived in Brighton, Colorado. I believe this is a V3, so waiting for charge to start right now. We arrived with 6%. Charger's ripping. It's actually starting to taper down right now. I think it's because of battery, right? Yeah, since I was a little low on charge, it didn't precondition as much as I would have liked it to. So slowly ramping down from 170, but it did hit 170 for a few minutes. And so let's take a look. It's 90 miles to Frisco, but it's also up a mountain. So I think it'd be smarter to either go to Idaho Springs, which is halfway up, up the mountain, or even better, I would really like to go to Lakewood, Colorado, right there. It says it's busy right now, but there's a couple bailout options, and ideally, if I get there, later, it hopefully clears up. This is maybe just kind of a rush hour crowd. So I think I want to plan to go to Lakewood, and if it still is full when I get close, I can dip down to Edgewater or up to Westminster. So those are all 250 stations, so all I need is a spot, and I'll get great speeds. And so let's go ahead and put in Lakewood initially and see how far away that is. Yeah, only 29 miles. So we're probably pretty much already good to go. And you know, then we'll do a deeper charge there to make it up to Frisco. But I just don't want to sit here until, you know, 80% or something, especially if I'm being limited from the cold battery when I can get faster speeds down the road. And just like that, in a few short minutes, already up to 32%. So I'm gonna go ahead and unplug because we have enough to make it the 30 miles down the road to Lakewood. Plus the benefit of this quick charge here should have warmed up the battery a little more, and hopefully when we get to Lakewood, we can get a healthier charge. Still just fighting this brutal cold temperatures all day. Arrived with 16% in Lakewood, and it was already worth unplugging and coming here because look at this, 177 kilowatts. So pulling peak speed. When we left the last place, we were down to like 115 or so. So getting way better speeds down here. Let's see efficiency so far. Last drive was actually 351 watt hours per mile, so not too bad on that little stretch. 1,067 miles so far in this trip, averaging 339 watt hours per mile. We need another 23% to make it to Frisco, and you can bet that I'm going to be a little bit, put a little extra in just to make sure we make it up there. All right, we are charged up to 49% already, but another excellent charging session, tapering down because we're at 50%. But I think it's going to be time to unplug already because we will get to Silverthorne with 8%, and there's actually another option. So my plan is to go to Frisco, which is right here. Silverthorne is the last Tesla charger right before it, but there's also an EA station here in Frisco. Plus there's tons of level 2. So since I'm gonna do car camping, my goal would be find a level 2 charger and plug in and have it run all night so I can be charging the car while sleeping in it. So we'll hit the road. I have Silverthorne plugged in here, but I don't think I'll use it. Depends what percentage we get up there with. If we're down to single digits, I might go to Silverthorne for just a couple minutes to get some energy in the car, and then, you know, run around Frisco looking for a charger, etc. So yeah, we'll unplug. We're at 52% now and hit the road. Just arrived in Silverthorne. I got here with 16%. When I went through the tunnel, I was actually at 14%. So I gained 2% rolling down the hill. Plugged in just now and only getting 60 kilowatts. Not sure why that is. I might drive down the street a mile because there's I don't know if there's a limitation on the grid here or something. I shouldn't be power sharing. I should be on the right number. I might want to just ride down the street to the 250 station. It's about a mile away. There we go. All I had to do is move over one spot. It's just the way the chargers are installed here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4A, then 1, 2, 3, 4B. So I was power sharing without even knowing it. So yeah, I didn't care to drive an extra mile down the road because I wouldn't get that much benefit. I'm only here for a quick charge while I plan out my overnight camping location. All right, charge is going pretty well here, although already up to 40%, still holding 116 kilowatts. Like I said, could have gone down the road for the version 3 supercharger, but I wasn't preconditioning because I didn't know if I was going to charge here or not, so I wouldn't have really gotten much benefit from it. So I'm going to go ahead and pretty much unplug. Where I want to go tonight is I'm only going to use 3% to get there. It's 4 miles away to get to Frisco, and there's a charger. It's kind of interesting how their chargers in town work. A lot of them are free for the first 4 hours, but then they charge $20 an hour if you overstay, and it's like a max of either $30 to $50. And there's a 30-minute grace period in between charges too. So my plan will be charge for 4 hours. There's a brewery nearby, so I'll go get a tasty beverage and some food, and I'll come back, unplug it for at least a half hour, and then plug it in again, and I should be pretty close to a full battery by that point because I'm already going to get there with, 40+% at this point. So that's the plan. If I get there and it doesn't look like a place I want to stay, we'll audible at that point. But for now, let's unplug at 43%. Actually, it'll be 44% by the time I get unplugged and head down the road. All right, so seems pretty well lit here. Arrived here with 43%. Let's go get plugged in and see what's what. Can go ahead and open the charge port. Gonna need my J1772 adapter. And since they're charge point units, all I do is take my charge point card and tap it. And then it clicks, and I got a plug. So like I said, seems pretty legit here, pretty well lit. So I'm happy with being plugged in here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and work on setting up the mattress in the back, and then I'll figure out where this brewery is. So from the back, mattress goes all the way to the back of the car. Just a blow up mattress, it's nothing fancy. It's not a Tesla mat or anything like that. Regular air pad from REI Fits. And goes all the way right up to the back of my seat. So I have plenty of room to be all stretched out. Time to run the heater to make sure it's all nice and warm when I get back. Okay, so just unplugged on the charge point unit. So charged all the way up to 78%. Time to activate camp mode. So there we go, camp mode enabled. And it's just after midnight right now, so we'll check back in the morning. It's 12 degrees outside. Actually, it's 8 degrees outside. There's a little battery heat resonating near the temperature gauge. We'll check back in the morning and see how much juice we used. Good morning from Frisco, Colorado. Let me show you these views. Love it up here. Some mountains over here, and then Breckenridge is just a couple miles down the road that way. Let's hop inside. It's been 7 hours in camp mode. Let's see how much energy we used. There we go. 18.5%. Sounds right, because it was 78% when we unplugged and moved over. 59% right now. So there you go. 18.5% to keep the car at 73 degrees all night. Pretty good, I think. So I think our goal for the day is pretty reasonable. We're just trying to get to St. George, Utah. So let's look at some things we got to do at first, though. It looks like there's some road conditions up ahead all the way to Grand Junction. My parents, I think, are around Glenwood Springs. I have to contact them. But I think preliminarily, let's put Glenwood Springs in, because we're going to need to charge there anyway, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we'd arrive there with 18%, so we wouldn't have enough to make it all the way to Grand Junction. And I don't think we have enough to make it to Rifle either. So we'll start driving, get our way to Glenwood Springs. I'll call my parents. If they audible and want to go to Vail, I'll let you know that there's a change of plans. But 88 miles down the road to Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Wow, what a drive it was through the canyon to get into town here. Roads were pretty terrible, fun, but also terrible at the same time. Just arrived with 18%, charge ramping up now. There's 5 of us here, so I'm very sure I'm going to be power sharing. So let's see how far it is to Rifle. I know for sure there's no way you can make it to Green River from here. So let's go ahead and put in Rifle version, or Parachute, that's what it is. Parachute version 3 supercharger. Definitely want to add that. Oh, wow, it says I'll pretty much already make it. I didn't even think I had enough to make it there. It's 41 miles down the road. Oh well, I'll stay here for a few minutes, get a little extra juice. Probably make sure that buffer is at least like, I don't know, 8% or something like that, and then we'll hit the road. All right, did some Googling, found a coffee shack that I definitely want to try out in Parachute. So I'm gonna go ahead and head down the road. I'll probably go to the coffee shack first and then circle back to the supercharger and then get back on the highway. So gonna go ahead and unplug now. We added a little bit of juice here, only 5 kilowatt hours, but you know, that's basically, 15 plus miles of range. So that adds a little bit of a comfortable buffer. All right, missed my exit the first time, so I had to circle around, arrived here with 2%, went to this place called the Little Coffee Shack. The coffee's amazing. About to eat this breakfast sandwich that's made to order. It looks pretty good. So let's go plug in. It's a version 3 supercharger. So we should get excellent speeds out of this. Oh, and it's all water and slush. Gross. Ramping up now. We hopefully should hit the 170. Come on, let's see it. Very good. All right, so peak speeds. What's interesting is it claims that with a 35-minute charge, I can make it all the way to Green River. So I'm going to have to do some calculations on that because I didn't know that was possible with this car. Charged up to 82%, just unplugged. Route Planner says I'll get there with 8%. Pretty cool location here at the Sinclair gas station. Went in and got a water, used the facilities. So pretty good charging stop here in Parachute. Love all these V3s, so you don't have to worry about power sharing. Now time to hit the road, 145 miles to Green River. Welcome to Green River, Utah. Made it here with 2%. The wet roads were definitely affecting efficiency, so I kept having to vary my speed as the road conditions changed to make sure I made it here. Just plugged in, charging ramped right up to 150. It's going to be a lengthy stop because it's just a long stretch to the next charger. I think it's called Salina, Utah. I'll have to look it up in a few minutes. But for now, I think I'm just going to take a walk over to the Green River. Just charged up to 74% unplugged. Took a walk around this little museum here and down by the Green River. Plan has us going to Richfield, which is 123 miles. After that, I'm going to stop in Beaver because that's an excellent charging location. So I'm just going to take what I need from Richfield since that's a less than ideal location. So I might also consider stopping in Salina, just to use the EA station, depending on how Richfield looks as I get closer. So now let's hit the road. We should arrive in Richfield with 5%. Time for a super quick stop. Beautiful drive down here. 6% arrival in Richfield. Let's go plug in. I think we only need about 20% Yeah, so it's trying to have me sit here forever and go to straight to Mesquite. Not gonna do that. Definitely gonna stop at Beaver. Beaver is one of the best chargers around. So if I put in Beaver, how far short are we right now? It just needs a second to think. Charging ramping up right now. This is one of the older stations, so that's why I parked right next to another Tesla, because if I went to the station right next to me, I'd actually be sharing with him. So see, I was able to ramp right up to the full 120 kilowatts, which is the most that this station can deliver. So I'm gonna run to the restroom and hopefully I'm done when I get back. Totally got carried away on the phone. Still pulling pretty much full power, but I'm gonna go ahead and unplug and shoot down the road 64 miles to Beaver. A little bit more mountainous terrain to do to get there. The last drive efficiency is starting to get better because this weather is really starting to cooperate. Even though it's 36, the sun is punching through the roof. We're barely using any heat. Arrived in Beaver with 9%. I might charge up I'll probably charge up 44%, enough to make it to Mesquite. It's a level or a version 3 supercharger, so let's go plug it in. Pardon my moaning, my back is hurting really bad. Take a look at this charging installation here. 24 stalls. You can see there's chargers over there with some bags over them. That's the old chargers that are, no longer in use. But all these version 3 superchargers right here. Awesome. Awesome to see it. And a gas station over there with a DQ, it looks like. Let's hop in and see the speeds. Perfect. Right up to 170 immediately. It's going to be a good charge. So I basically have two options. I could charge to about 55% or so, or just a little more than that, make it all the way to Mesquite. Charging is still pulling 131 kilowatts right now, which is, great, but it's already tapered off of the 170. So I'm up to 32% in just a couple minutes from 9%, I think is what I arrived with. But we can go to Cedar City, Utah, which is 58 miles down the road. It is, I think, uphill. Let me check the graph. I have to go to continue trip, I think. There we go. So now if I continue the trip, not too much up a hill, I guess, but still pretty steady. Kind of shows just a steady decline of power. All right. Just unplugged. We're at 42%. Means we'll arrive in Cedar City with 7%. Gives us a little buffer. Let's hit the road. Arrived in Cedar City with 12%. Traffic was a little slow, so that's why we arrived with a little more percentage than we thought we would. Charging ripped immediately right up to 170. I'm gonna go use the restroom, get a water, and then we'll check out the install. Literally as fast as I could walk into the Sinclair, hit the bathroom and buy a water. We're ready to go. We're at 36%, and according to the car, we're already going to arrive in Mesquite with 7% buffer, since it's like literally all downhill through an awesome canyon. So it's going to be a scenic ride. But yeah, time to unplug and hit the road, 84 miles down the road to Mesquite, Nevada. Just arrived in Mesquite here at the Casablanca Hotel or Casino. I'll show you around in just a second. But got here with 9%, ripped up to 170 kilowatts right away. Let's see the efficiency on the last drive. Only 201 watt hours per mile because it was all downhill all the way into town. Love it. Love it, love it. So, I mean, that gets our efficiency for the trip down to 320 watt hours per mile for the 1,750 miles basically right now. So here's the charging location. There's the Casablanca Casino, Hotel, etc. Parking lot is slammed because it's a Friday night. Bunch of chargers lined up down here. I didn't actually look at how many there are. The car's made it. This is the last stop before Vegas, so I charged up a little extra. I'm going to be at about 60% by the time I leave here, but absolutely disgusting from all the snow and smuts from in Glenwood Springs this morning. So just hit 60% right now. Gonna go ahead and unplug. Speeds were down to about 85 kilowatts right now. So it's only 82 miles to Vegas. Should get there with around 20% to spare. And I have level 2 charging at the hotel I'm at. So see you in Vegas. After a few fun days in Las Vegas, it's time to leave. Car is looking disgusting. Let me show you what the chargers were here. There are 6 chargers here, which if you remember my last trip when I went to New York, there's only 2. So props to Treasure Island for having enough chargers. The brand on these, I think I've used once before when I was in Phoenix. It's called Nudu. It's $2 an hour for the first 4 hours, and then it goes to, $2 an hour for the first 4 hours, then $4 an hour or $8 an hour, something crazy once the first 4 hours are used up. So if you do plug in, do it the way I did. I did like 3 different charging sessions and just unplugged when I got close to 4 hours every time. But now we're heading to Phoenix, so let's hop in the car and see the route. So we are charged up to 87% because I was charged to 100%, but I actually, believe it or not, lost 13% with just running Sentry mode. Way more than I thought would happen in this situation. There we go. We have the route plan. So as always, when you're leaving Vegas heading to Phoenix, Kingman, Arizona is the first stop. So we're going to hit the road, 109 miles down the road to Kingman, Arizona. Here in Kingman, Arizona. What a disaster this has become. We were stuck on the road for over 4 hours parked because the road is iced over and trucks could not make it up the hill, and what a disaster. So finally just got here with 12%. I used about 7% to heat the car while I was basically in the parking lot because it's 30 degrees outside, snowing like crazy. Gonna go into Carl's Jr., eat some food, and we'll see what percentage we're at when we get out. I don't know how much I need to get to Wickenburg or just all the way to Phoenix. Wickenburg all the way to Phoenix. But once I go eat, I'll check back in and see where we're at. Just got some food at Carl's Jr. Charged up to, come on, there we go, 84% right now. Let's see what it says. It says we'll get to Wickenburg with 16% remaining. So, time to hit the road. Just arrived in Wickenburg, Arizona. So pretty close to Phoenix right now. Needs to calculate a little bit and it'll figure out how much we need to make it all the rest of the way to Scottsdale. Charging ripped right up to 120 kilowatts. I believe this is an old version 1 supercharger. So, or version 2. So this is the max speed we can expect to get from it. But we'll be here and get as much as we need, and then we'll be off to Scottsdale. Met up with my parents here. Rode along with them to a gas station while the car charged. And now we can continue the trip. Charged up to 82% and 75 miles down the road to Scottsdale. So yeah, continue the journey and we'll finally be in Phoenix.